What's happening? My name is Blake Harris, and this is the Music City Mindset. We are proudly licensed under the NFM network, and we have an incredible show for you today. It is going to be just me on the host side. Dion is out celebrating his birthday, so happy birthday, Dion. Turn up a little extra for me. Wish I could be there with you, man. Last week, we had my friend Matt McQuiston on the show, and I got a lot of messages in regards to when he was kind of giving me my flowers on transitioning from an athlete to more of a promoter and a coach within the sport of strongman. And I didn't feel like it's ever in the middle of a conversation in an interview appropriate to receive those flowers. It gets kind of awkward when it gets put back onto me because that's not why I did this. But I got so many messages. I did want to address something because I think it's applicable now before we get started that, yes, there was a time, there was a journey, a process, if you will, of when I wanted strongman here. And selfishly, I wanted strongman in Nashville so I could show off what I could do to all of my friends, all of my family, because I train in a different way than anyone else back then. And it was so different. People wanted to see it on display. And I wanted somebody, anybody, bring that to Nashville so I could do this, so I could show the people I care about in my city what I'm capable of doing. And that process of finding someone that would say that, like, oh, well, there's not really a scene of strongman in Nashville, that they don't know how they would do it, because in Memphis, Chattanooga, Kentucky, talking to those promoters, they relied heavily on their community. And I didn't have that, but I wanted it done here. And it finally got to the point where it went from, will somebody bring this here for me, to them meeting people and being like, hey, will you bring this here for me? To finally, I just said, fuck it, and I'm going to do it myself. And that's the story of how Music City Strongman started, to be able to start something here in Nashville that wasn't here before, growing the community. And within growing that community opened so many doors. Having access to that strongman community is what allowed me to even make the numbers make sense, to open my own gym and have this community. Now we're putting on 2 competitions every year. What we do at the expo is huge, and all because no one else would bring it here because it hadn't been here. No one knew what it could do here. And it just took somebody just saying, do it. And that happened to be me. And now I'm not alone in this room, even though I'm the only host here. And I'm in the room with people who know a thing about building something and starting something that wasn't really here in the city of Nashville. The visionaries behind the most innovative and electric event to hit the independent wrestling circuit. On June 1st, they not only just put on a show, they orchestrated an unforgettable night that climaxed with our hometown hero, Colby the Code Carter, taking down a former WWE superstar to claim that title. And that was just the beginning. Today, we're going to talk about July 6th. Pro Wrestling Symphony returns for another action-packed, hard-hitting event that you will have to see to believe. Let's all rise up for the Pro Wrestling Symphony. Connor, Rory, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much for having us.
Thanks for having us. That is a hell of an intro.
Thank you. Like I said, I want to cut some promos, man. I had to show off for y'all because who knows what's going to happen here. Nice. So this show is called Music City Mindset. It got started because the conversations I just have before we got microphones was that there are people here building and doing some really cool stuff. So cool that, in my very, very biased local opinion, as a Nashville native my entire life, never went anywhere, that this is the greatest city in the world. And I had to admit that if I have to back up the fact that this is the greatest city in the world, it's because of all the cool things happening, but all the cool things happening are happening because of people that aren't originally from here. So let's kind of start off how we normally start with, I can just alternate and whatever. Like, where are you from and how did you end up in Nashville?
Sure. So for me, Kansas City, born and raised. Went to University of Missouri for school, studied to be a journalist, wanted to do the sports journalism thing most of my life. So did that, graduated, started hopping around to different internships in different states around the country. Wound up in Louisville working for the Courier-Journal. Wound up in Orlando at one point writing for the Sentinel. Wound up in the middle of nowhere, Ohio, working for a small town newspaper called the Mansfield News Journal. Spent 2 lovely years there. And
everyone who comes on here has such lovely things to say about the state of Ohio, but please continue.
It's better to just say lovely and not divulge what goes on there. So about 2 years into me being there, I'm like, look, I love this, but the industry that I'm in it's not dying, it's changing, and I need to change with it. So the idea of, working your way up, writing for city newspapers, covering local sports, and then hopefully getting onto that national stage, that's not as reliable as some of the alternatives that are out there. So on Twitter, of all places, I find a job application for a entertainment news writer in Nashville. And the thing that got my foot in the door was, we need someone that knows pro wrestling. And I'm like, I've been a fan since I was 10, so bring it on. And got that job, and then that's how I wound up here. That was late 2017. And since then, met some of my best friends, met my future wife, Jessica Garrison. We're getting married in October.
Congratulations.
Congrats.
Bought our first house, got a dog, 2 cats. I'm not intending on leaving anytime soon. I love this city. I love how alive it is. And it's like you said, it lives up to the hype.
Had you ever visited before coming down to negotiate with the job?
Funny enough, no. The one time I had even stopped in Nashville was driving from college to Orlando for a summer internship, and stopping halfway in Nashville, and it took at least like 3 years for me to be like, where the hell did I stay? Because I couldn't.
It probably got torn down.
I couldn't figure it out, and I was like, all I remember was it was a hotel. And I remember passing the Opry, not the Opryland, so just the giant glass buildings.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, there was a Buffalo Wild Wings in front because that's where we went to dinner that night, and the hotel was behind it. I finally figured out it was Mount Juliet. That was where I stayed.
Wow.
Yeah, over in Providence.
Okay, yeah.
That took years for me to be like, where the hell is this? All these Buffalo Wild Wings are in front of nothing.
Yes. Yeah, and everything looks completely different.
It really does.
And it doesn't take long for things to change around here, at least in the past few years. But my story is a little bit different. I'm like you. I'm a native Tennessean.
Okay.
Born and raised in McMinnville, Tennessee, so just about an hour and a half southeast of here. So I've called Nashville home, Nashville proper home since 2013, but I have memories going back all the way through my childhood here. I mean, we talked off air about actually seeing a show at Starwood, but then I also remember when Opryland was a theme park, and you could actually ride rides there. And oh man, the Wabash Cannonball was my favorite. Like I have memories just throughout my entire life in the Nashville area. And when it comes to pro wrestling, my grandfather was a ring announcer. So back when, because while Pro Wrestling Symphony is the newest wrestling promotion in Nashville, we're not the first. Not even close. Nashville has one of the richest histories of pro wrestling for any city in the country. But the Nick Goulas promotion that ran through Nashville and the Middle Tennessee territories would often feature my grandfather, Tom Miller, doing ring announcing. So I've heard so many stories about him working with guys like Sid Vicious and Macho Man Randy Savage, and but then also a lot of the great locals that never made it to national TV to that level, but were still incredibly famous around here, like Wildfire Tommy Rich or Tojo Yamamoto, or several others really that I could just rattle off. But yeah, so I come by this honestly. Some of my earliest memories of life are pro wrestling. Either watching it on TV or attending live events with my dad. And so it's always been something that's been very much in my life. My previous career was in music. I was in a band for a little while. I also have over 10 years experience in working in the music industry. So calling Nashville home just made sense, right? For so many reasons. But yeah, that's kind of the history of where we come from. But yeah, I'm lucky and proud to be a native Tennessean and call Nashville home now. And yeah, I also don't see myself leaving anytime soon.
I love to hear that. It's a testament of when people who don't have a support system, that you moving here, you don't have your friends, your family, where if things don't work out, it's not a big deal to just transition and make a pivot. For you, it's a big deal. So for the way I look at it is when you remove that support system and fall in love with somewhere that has a higher risk, that's just a testament to how awesome this city is, and the unspoken bond of people that are moving here can be of being able to meet people that if you might not think you have anything in common, but going into it, there's one thing you have in common, that you both moved here and now you're here right now having a conversation. And I think that's really special. So how did y'all meet?
You want the full origin story?
It's what you do best.
Let's do it. Okay. So we
Love
meet.
that.
So we all meet at a training school up in Hendersonville.
We should say all, because our third co-founder is not present for this today, but Pat Dooley, who is also our in-ring announcer at the events, but he's also a co-owner and co-founder.
Yeah. So myself, Rory, and Pat, we all start going to this wrestling school up in Hendersonville. At the time, Jerry Lynn, former ECW Ring of Honor legend,
yes,
had started coaching there. So we were all like, Jerry Lynn's coaching, let's go. Let's just learn from him, whatever he can offer us, maybe gets our foot in the door in the industry, let's do it. And
so y'all are all out there like taking bumps and stuff?
So they were mostly just working, kind of behind the scenes. The idea was to launch a promotion alongside the school. That eventually happened, but it took so long to get off the ground that by the time it did, these two were already gone. I'm pointing at Pat as though he's here.
Yeah.
I did a few shows with them, but by early 2024, we had all kind of gone our own ways into the Middle Tennessee wrestling scene. Pat was ring announcing for a few different promotions. You were doing commentary for CCW. I was helping at a number of promotions as a manager, kind of a Bobby the Brain Heenan type.
Yeah,
so it was easy for me to just get on the mic, say, "Oh, you people are idiots. Now fight this big guy that's standing next to me," and then they would hate me. Yeah. It was fun,
as they should.
Yeah, but out of nowhere, I was just like, "Hey, let's start a group chat," because the three of us had kept in touch. And we decided let's do monthly meetups and just kind of talk about life,
swap stories,
exactly. And we were at Hawker's one night over on Main Street in East.
Oh, delicious.
Fantastic.
Great place.
Every time I bring it up, someone goes, "This is such a good place." It is a good place.
It is.
One of the best, I guess, spicy margaritas you'll ever have.
Ooh. I'll have to try that.
No.
All right.
No free ads, though.
No free ads. Yeah. But so we're at Hawker's, and we had kind of just pointed out that if you wanted to work Nashville on any sort of regularity, you had to drive an hour in every direction. And there'd be promotions there in every small town you could think of, but never Nashville itself. And even the ones that would work Nashville, they'd be in once every 3 months or so. There was no regularity.
There's no consistency at all for any of
No.
them. And a lot of them were from out of town even.
And they'd be coming in from Florida, from the Carolinas, and you're just like, why do we need somebody to come in instead of just have a promotion that's based out of here and build that up? And we were kind of looking around like, well, why is nobody doing it? And people had their reasons, but we just thought, if no one's going to try, let's do it ourselves. And we luckily had backgrounds in marketing, in live events, in venues that we could go, you know what, if we pool our resources together, talk to all the wrestlers that we've come into contact with over the past couple of years, let's see if we can get a show going. And that eventually led to, but if we're going to do this, let's do it right. So we spent 8 months at least going over building an LLC, getting our logo set up, getting our trademarks established, so that when we started going to venues, we were a legit business. It wasn't just, hey, it's me and my friends and 8 wrestlers I can afford and a ring, and let's just go. It was, no, this is a legit business that we want to build so that 5 years from now, Pro Wrestling Symphony is a pillar of the Nashville live entertainment scene in the same way that Escape Game, in the same way the Nashville Sounds, in the same way the Shiner show that runs once a week that you see all the advertisements for at places like the airport.
Yep.
We wanted to be a part of that equation. So that's how we wound up here. And June 1st was our very first show.
the self-titled debut, as we like to call it.
Let's talk about the title, the name.
Sure.
Even looking at the logo of the shirts that y'all have, it's Pro Wrestling Symphony.
Bingo.
I'm guessing just this short interaction that we've already had that is very intentional in doing that. Some people, I could see an argument where that name could be kind of confusing. And the symphony part is the biggest part. But I'm guessing there's a story or reasoning behind that. So talk a little bit about the name and how we landed on that.
Yeah. I mean, one of the biggest things for us in naming is we didn't want to necessarily trap ourselves geographically speaking, because as much as we love Nashville and we want to make sure that we are, Nashville's, promotion, we also know that there's always opportunities to go other places, and we mentioned earlier how other companies were coming here, and so why would you want to necessarily go to a show called Ohio Valley Wrestling in Nashville, where we're not near the Ohio Valley, or Coastal Championship Wrestling? What coast are we talking about?
Yeah, if we were Nashville Championship Wrestling and went into Kansas City, people would look at us and go, why the hell
are you here? So instead, we wanted to still evoke Music City and what Nashville is mostly known for with a musical term. And symphony was the one that struck us the most, because in a symphony, it takes all different types of musicians to come together to put on a incredible performance. And one thing for us with wrestling is that there's no two wrestling shows are the same, but also in most cases, no two wrestling matches on one night are the same. And so you're getting a variety of skills and skill sets, a variety of just entertainers, and people are giving you different stories with each match. And a symphony gives you that similar vibe. You have strings and brass and woodwind and percussion, and all of them are wonderful in their own right, but when put together, they make something extra special. So for us, the symphony is the part that is the significant thing, because otherwise, yeah, it's pro wrestling, and that's still there, and it's always going to be part of it. But also, if you see our poster, then you can tell, oh, look at all these big guys and gals there that look impressive, and I want to see them, I want to see them throw down on Sunday at the symphony. So I think that's more or less the story of how we ran up to it, because we wanted to evoke Music City and remind people of, or because we know where we're coming from with that, but Nashville Championship Wrestling didn't have the same ring to it, I guess. I don't know, there's something about it that felt a bit more big.
Yeah, it was thematic, but it also kind of proved a point, and we tried to emphasize that with the first show of, like, you had your classic main event style match with Colby and Dijak, but you also had a really fun tag team match in Royal Prestige and Fresh Air. You had a women's tag team match. You rarely see women's tag team wrestling,
period.
On independent shows. You got to go to some of the bigger leagues to where they actually are interested in doing that. We opened our show with that, and that was kind of a statement of, hey, we love tag team wrestling, we love women's wrestling, and we're going to feature both of those things.
And pro wrestling is for everyone.
That's our catchphrase.
And there's every type of wrestler available, and we want to make sure that we're bringing only the best and keeping that variety of talent.
The Symphony Scramble.
Yeah, which was another really fun thing that we're bringing back, and this time it'll be a women's Symphony Scramble. So we're keeping, we're keeping that in the mix, as it were, because one other thing about the wrestling landscape right now is we're in what I would argue is the true golden age of pro wrestling. Because as a fan, there's more talent out there working today than I think in any time in history before, because it's so much more accessible, and there's so much more people that have fallen in love with it and wanted to pursue it as a career, that now you have people that name a promotion, and I can point to 5 or 6 people minimum on every roster that I would pay anything to see and would happily see them in a main event. And it's fascinating to see the number of people that do not have a full-time contract or a long-term contract with any major promotion right now, because you look at them and go, yeah, but you put on a 5-star classic every time I see you, or so I don't even know where I was going with that other than to say
Well,
that
to that point, there's so much talent that guys can be on a different show every weekend, making an honest living, to where they don't have to go sign with WWE or AEW or any of the guys with TV contracts, because there's enough work out there.
Yeah. That is true. Yeah, there is enough work out there, and we want to bring that here as well, because once again, Nashville is not only steeped in wrestling history, but also we're an entertainment city. We're one of the biggest tourist attractions in the entire country. We still are the number one bachelorette party destination in the nation, and we have business conferences here. There's family friendly stuff, and we wanted to say, yeah, here's a new thing for you guys to do while you're here in town. Here's something exciting for you to see, because we know that the talent that's going to step through the curtain at Pro Wrestling Symphony is going to put on an incredible show for you. And you don't have to know the ins and outs of their characters, because they will give you all you need to know there. If I go see a magician in Vegas, I don't have to know that, this is who this magician is and this is where their background is or whatever. I go there and I'm wowed by the experience and I have a wonderful time. And I think
that's a very good point.
Yeah, and I think the same thing can be said for Pro Wrestling Symphony. Is that you don't have to be a wrestling fan to come to this and have a wonderful time. It's a matinee show. It's all ages, so family appropriate. And you still get your evening out to do whatever is next on your agenda for your trip. So that was a big point for us, because I'm a father, and my son's 7 years old, and I'm proud and thrilled that he got to experience his first ever live wrestling show at Pro Wrestling Symphony. Like, I got to put on that show for his first live event. And I know that my first pro wrestling event in person was such a memorable experience. So I hope that was the same for him. But to me, I don't want my kid having to go to shows that start at his bedtime, and that's what, and
a good point.
And a lot of shows do that. So for us, we thought matinee.
I think on June 1st, I think I went grocery shopping after the show.
Yeah,
perfect.
Exactly. Yeah.
And to your point, and this is not my actual pitch yet, but I kind of watched, as I was watching the show, it was like, from a skill set, is this a show that I could call?
Sure.
But I was like, but I don't know any of the characters. I don't know what federations they're coming from. I probably would be so in the weeds the whole time. Like, I'm way out of my league here. And then I was watching the show, and to your point of what they give you with this, everyone understanding that this is something new, it was like, oh, I could have done that. Yeah. It is that. You haven't mentioned on the musical side of things yet. And I think that shows how good the wrestling is, that you don't have to have the concert to overshadow the wrestling, right? Yeah. If anything, it's the other part of that. Talk a little bit about the actual concert aspect of this, being it's at Brooklyn Bowl, so it is a concert venue. That's what I know it as. So, and there is a concert musical aspect to Pro Wrestling Symphony. So kind of touch on that and why that was important, not just because we are Music City, but how that plays into what you think is scalable if you're going to go do something in Kansas City or somewhere else.
Yeah. You want me to take that one?
Go for it. You're the music man.
Yeah. All right. Fair enough. For me, obviously it starts with it's Music City. Everything has a band, right? Yeah. And, and for what it's worth, I mean, we're lucky and blessed to be able to work with Brooklyn Bowl, a top-notch venue that I couldn't be more thrilled to be a part of. But great also for me, I'm a huge fan of Saturday Night Live. And which is the quintessential variety show, right? It's comedy sketches, but they also always have musical acts, and you'll see different things here and there. But for me, having that musical act felt like it elevated it in such a way that other shows like Mad TV didn't really have. They didn't always have that musical guest or that celebrity appearance, right? And so for us, if we're asking people to spend a significant portion of their day to come to downtown Nashville at one of the premier music venues in town and spend their hard-earned money on a show, we want to give them the best show we possibly can. And what better way to elevate that even further than to have live music in Music City, where that is a part of the action. And I come from the music world. I have a lot of friends in the music scene still. And for me, I know that I've already had multiple conversations with people that have said, oh man, it would be awesome to play a wrestling show as a band, you know? And so there's a mutual benefit there all around, because the bands are excited about it. They get to do something unique, right? And we get to showcase more talent in Nashville than just the wrestling. So in that sense, it elevates the experience to a whole other level, and fans love it. And the bands always, when you come out to the shows, bands will play our special featured act, which is going to be the Dangerous Method, coming up on July 6th. They'll play a little mini set at the end of the show to let people kind of like still enjoy themselves and finish their beers if they have some left, you know. But it opens the door for fans to find new avenues, or new, be exposed to something new, that a new artist that you may not have seen before, as well as a new wrestler. We want to offer a little something for everybody, and what better way to do it when you're already at a music venue, when you already have top-notch staff and crew that can put on an incredible performance. It just makes sense.
Yeah, and I, as a spectator standpoint, I love that ability, because after that roller coaster of watching Colby go into the rafters.
Mm-hmm. That choke slam. That choke
felt
bomb.
it.
That was, yeah.
But then it's like, after the roller coaster, that watching him hoist the belt, chanting Colby, and then it's like, if any other situation, on a high like that of watching one of my friends accomplish something like that, and then like, I got to finish chugging this, and then now I'm out on the street, and it's like,
right, what do you do?
You like kind of like got to decompress,
yeah,
a little bit,
yeah,
at the event,
yeah.
Which I don't think, like, if there's like a nail biter, buzzer beater, you don't get that in in a lot of sports.
Oh yeah,
Hail Mary, something. It's like, and it's over, and we've got to get everyone out by this time. Go, and now everyone's on the street like in a daze, like, oh my god, what just happened?
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Like, if we could all collectively decompress together.
Mm-hmm.
That was really cool, and I thought that was a really, really cool aspect of what y'all are putting on. So that pretty much sums up y'all's history, your passion for this level of wrestling, and this city, how it met, the history of all of it. So I think this is a good stopping point. We're going to take a quick break and hear a word from our sponsors, and then we'll see you on the other side with Pro Wrestling Symphony. And we are back, and we are here with Pro Wrestling Symphony. We kind of covered the background of everything, and got to where we are now. One show under the belt, and it was a great one. I do want to ask, because we finally started talking really in depth about the musical component of the symphony.
Sure.
And with that, knowing as a promoter myself in a different world, did it really start with the planning? Because I know, like, when you put a business plan together, there's got to be, like, realistically, here's the budget, here's what we can do, here's who we're going now. Was there a time that you allowed yourself to, like, dream that what if, and like what this could grow into, and in a dream world, this is the match between these two kind of people, and this band is performing? Was that something that was kind of talked about? And if so, like, who are those, like, who is that talent, and like, what is a band that you would just love to see be able to put on their resume that they played Pro Wrestling Symphony?
I think we live in that dream space,
Yeah.
because part of running a wrestling show is setting up these matches, and we have to talk about this stuff well in advance so that we can have these talent get booked and everything, right? So we all the time are thinking about where can this story go, or where can these people get to, and I do want to see this match or whatever. But so I think we always live there. I'll speak on the music thing. Say it out loud. You never know what might happen, right? Hayley Williams lives here, and oh my God, if she or Paramore want to come out and play the symphony, we will gladly have you. Let's talk, right? But
that would be so
that would
epic.
be amazing. That's the other thing too. Like going back to like why have bands? Bands live here. Like it is an easy enough ask to say, hey, you don't have to get on a tour bus or a plane or anything. Just show up at this venue, which you've probably are at least familiar with if you haven't played yourself, and then set up and play 5 songs and you're done, right? And it's a nice easy gig. And you're in your backyard, and you get to enjoy a wrestling show while you're at it. So, Hayley Williams is kind of top of my list for that reason, because I think she's just tailor made for something like this anyway. And
sure.
My gosh, it would be a blast. I also know this too. This is the only other one I'll say out loud. Paul Janeway of St. Paul and the Broken Bones is a wrestling fan. I know that.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. So Paul, if you happen to be watching, or if someone wants to get in touch, let's talk.
That makes so much sense. I saw them play at the Ryman. Incredible, puts on an incredible show.
Absolutely.
But this dude also, no disrespect, not looking like the smallest, most limber human that's out there, and in a full sparkly sequiny suit. At the Ryman, if you've been there, climbed over, went to the balcony and climbed over the rail and was hanging over the rail while he finished the encore.
Yeah,
it was insane to watch live. Because I was in one of the front rows in the balcony and looking over, and he's climbed over on the edge, hanging over. It was incredible. So now knowing that he was, Sting in the rafters or something in that moment.
Jeff Hardy going up the top. I mean, that's performers are performers, right? Yeah. And that's one of our values at Pro Wrestling Symphony is that is top notch performance is where it's at. I mean, that presentation matters so much that you got to have that in you. You got to have that mindset, right? Of having that performance. But those are the musicians that I'll drop as far as that would be amazing. And the list is longer than that, but
I'll just drop one because I know he's a wrestling fan. Corey Taylor.
Oh, okay. There you go. Yeah.
Okay.
Doesn't have to be Slipknot necessarily.
That's true.
It's just him.
Corey.
I'm good with it.
For sure.
Corey.
Oh, I mean, these are great names. Yeah. Those are getting to the point where you would have some portion of the crowd. Now, what percentage? Who knows? But they would be there just for that. And then the wrestling is aside.
Yeah.
And I assume that as you're elevating the show, the plan of elevating the music is part of the plan, I would assume, right?
Yeah. You grow with anything.
Yeah. So we don't have to put you on the spot with dream talent and stuff like that. You obviously made your choices as far as kind of the baby face of what you're building this around. Hometown kid, Colby Carter. He was on the show and he talked about meeting y'all for the first time in this moment at this restaurant, y'all slapping these business cards down. I would love to hear y'all's perspective of that moment and meeting him and why Colby.
So that meeting was just kind of we wanted to tell somebody because we had been working on it for so long that we're we need to tell some of the boys.
I know what that's like.
Yep.
And with Colby, we had met him when he had first started training. It was very obvious from the beginning. It's this guy's got all the tools to make it. He's got the drive to make it, and he's got the physical ability to do it. So then it's just a matter of getting the opportunities, getting in front of the right people, wrestling the right matches, getting the crowd behind you, and then you can be a big player in this industry. And we look at Colby, but we called it the Symphony 6. And it's it's behind the scenes. We took this idea from Paul Heyman, who's, for my money, one of the greatest minds the wrestling business has ever had. And
him or hate
like him or not. Yeah.
His idea when it came to booking, he's got some very simple philosophies when it comes to booking. And when he was given the reins of one of WWE's big properties back in the early 2000s, he had what was called the SmackDown 6. And he took 6 guys that he knew, if I put these 6 in any sort of matches against each other, I know it'll do well because I know their ability and I know that the fans will get behind them. So we went, what if we tried something like that?
Mm-hmm.
And the first name that kept coming up, and we're like, who's our 6? Colby was number 1.
Colby's
It's
number
like,
1.
Yeah.
He's your baby face. He's the guy you can immediately slot into a main event with anybody, and it makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's very believable. And also we're not delusional in this sense. We know we're a local promotion.
Yeah.
We are not trying to compete with WWE, AEW, any of those things. We don't have a TV deal. We're not touring the country. Okay. So that means that our people that we're really putting our energy behind has to be local or has to be representative of the region, even if they're not from Nashville proper, because, wrestlers live where they want to live. Right.
Yeah.
But we do know that there are, just like your, minor league sports or what have you, there are those that will claim a city as their home over time, or will find a certain following and a certain audience here. And, it's our job to help certain talent get put in that position to find that audience and to find that fan base. But it's also our job to listen to the fan base and say, oh, they're already behind this person. This is where, and so we need to make sure that we're keeping track of that, and so that's always been a kind of a major focus for me is to know that, yeah, we know where we want people to, or we know that we have to start somewhere, and we know most of them are going to be local and people that are working their way up. And Colby it was number 1 from the get. And yeah, it was really just a matter of, we knew that if we told him, he would be able to keep the secret, which is important, in the sense that, we weren't ready for the world to know yet, but we wanted someone to know, and we wanted to put that trust in him because, we're trying to show him that we trust him as well. Like, so if you trust us, we trust you, and we're going to make great things happen, and we think that we can. So,
and the slamming the business cards, that's just theatrics.
Of course. Yeah. I don't remember slamming it. I remember just casually, oh, here, by the way, take one, I think he was probably besides you and Pat, he was the first person to get my business card. You know what I mean? Like, we all just traded our own, but yeah, that was kind of my memory of that incident anyway.
With Colby I'll say with Colby, but how is the relationship? Because he still trains at the school in Hendersonville, right?
So, to my knowledge, not anymore.
Okay.
That the relationship with that school has kind of evolved over time.
Okay.
So, I'm not really sure where he is training day to day currently. Obviously, he lives up in that area, and he's got his gym that he's constantly working out of. So, dude's always staying in fantastic shape. But I think a lot of the bookings he takes are like, hey, I got to stay busy and I got to keep learning.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So, yeah. And that's and getting reps in is the best way for in this kind of thing. He's, as far as I know, he's taken as many of those bookings as he can at this point. There's been plenty of times that we've asked him to do XYZ thing, and he's like, sorry guys, I'm actually, heading over to Knoxville to work a match or things like that. So you stay busy and you keep at it. And that also pays dividends. I know I've told him and several others that you don't know who's watching you. Like, and when it comes to, especially when it comes to wrestling, where there's a lot of eyes everywhere, you don't know who's actually paying attention to the work you're putting in. You think no one sees it, but I promise you someone does. And if they don't see you actively, on the road or putting the time in at the gym or getting or rolling on the ring, they do see the improvement when you have your next match, because that's undeniable. You know?
Yeah. Saying in football, the eye in the sky doesn't lie.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So a lot of similarities here. You can have muscles and look good all you want, but to be fit for a game is different than looking good on the beach.
Yep.
And I think that's even more important with wrestling, of being able to, take the bumps and be able to do that the way people like at the Colby's level do that. So obviously this show is not ever about clickbait or making anyone say anything bad about someone else,
Sure.
But diving into the brains behind these ideas, is there plans or talks of, because obviously consistency, it keeps coming up. That's a common theme, right? That's what you want in your branding. to be able to have that, it makes sense that you have a little bit of a control from the ground up. Is there talks about like a new school or more encompassing school that has a little bit more media, not just talent involved, with what y'all are trying to do, like where y'all trying to take this in the future?
Sure. There is one prominent wrestler from the area who has reached out. I won't name names because I don't think he wants us to yet. Who is at least in talks about launching a school. And if they do it, you know, and they've been like, hey, if this happens, would you guys be willing to be affiliated with it? We're like, we won't buy into the school, but if y'all want to be associated with us, sure. Because that's easy. Because we've had plenty of people reach out and be like, hey, I'd love to know where to go train, or hey, I'd love to go, you know,
A feeder system.
Get some reps.
Yeah.
And we don't really have an answer for them right now.
Yeah,
Because especially in Nashville proper, there is no school, and there hasn't been for a long time.
Yeah.
So
because at some of the big schools, you have the ability to like not just learn the ropes literally,
Right.
But metaphorically with like ringside management, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Learn all the aspects of it, not just like doing moves.
Right.
Yeah.
Which I mean, the moves would be fun,
Mm-hmm.
but as far as like a career point, I'd be interested in the other aspects, but I don't think that that's anything that I've found offered at a quality consistency, if you will.
Yeah.
Yeah, and like consistency for us right now is consistently having shows each month. And thankfully with Brooklyn Bowl, we're on the first Sunday of every month going forward. June 1st was kind of they never told us it was a tryout, but as we went along, we're like, we really got to show out for this, or else
You
they're not
treated
gonna
it
have
that
us
way.
back.
Absolutely.
Yeah, you have to.
So we
right?
were like, let's prove our mettle. Let's show up for this first show. So, you know, when we sold over 200 tickets, we're like, okay, we got something. And it was nothing but positivity coming out of that first show for us to build onto. So
Have y'all announced that yet?
Oh yeah, we've
For the first Sunday, moving forward.
First
Yes.
Sunday of every month moving forward. Pretty much anybody who's asked, we've been like, yep, first Sunday.
First Sunday, yeah.
So-
And that makes it nice and easy for fans to remember as well.
Yep.
First Sunday of the month, you can expect you come to the Symphony at Brooklyn Bowl.
Yep.
That's every first Sunday.
So July 6th, August 3rd, September 7th.
7th. There you go.
You know, throughout the rest of the year, we've been like, hey, we're doing all these. So always be back at the Brooklyn Bowl that first, you know, same date, same place, and same time each month. It's always starting at 2:00. So that's part of that consistency that we're like, hey, we're not just doing this once or twice, disappearing for months at a time, and then coming back when the money's right. No, we just keep marching forward.
Mm-hmm. And to your point on you know, training or having a school, you know, this is we don't want to disparage anybody, but I will put over TWE in Chattanooga is one of my favorite promotions in the country, quite frankly. And they have a school system there, or a training facility and everything. And so if as of right now, if someone texted me today, hey, where should I start training? And you know, it can be within a 2-hour radius or whatever, I would send them to Chattanooga, TWE, because they have an incredible school up there, down there, and they've and a lot of the talent that's come through that system, I have my eyes on, and I can't wait to see their next matches. So,
Oh, well, yeah, I actually haven't even heard about that one. I'm familiar. I mean, I don't know if we could go another minute on the show talking about local wrestling and not mention Memphis.
Sure.
I mean, I'm not disagreeing with you that Nashville has some of the richest pro wrestling history in any city in the world, in this country anyway. But Memphis,
yeah,
we were the Memphis territory.
Yeah, Nashville was included in that.
Yeah.
So
and so familiar with what they have to offer. Of course, you've got Kane up in Knoxville.
There's actually a few good schools in the Knoxville area. Kane and Dr. Pritchard's being one of them. Net Pro that we use one of their rings for our shows.
Oh wow!
And we were blown away by the quality that they had. So and we know some good people that work up there.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, there's and there are, and that's just it. There are places in Chattanooga, Memphis, Knoxville,
and Louisville. I know plenty that drive up to OVW.
Of course, yeah, but why not Nashville, right?
Right.
So
and when you're building something that, yes, pro wrestling has been in Nashville, but on a consistent, elevated level, not backyard
No.
bullshit. I'll say it.
Yeah.
Y'all don't have to, but it's been a long time.
Yeah,
It's been a very long time. It's not the same city as it is now as it was when pro wrestling was consistent here in Nashville.
Mhm.
And in my opinion, is like when you're building something, you have to make it as easily accessible as possible.
Yep.
Like driving down to Chattanooga, yeah, I can make a cool weekend out of that. But to like, for other people getting their feet wet,
Mhm.
you've got to make it easy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, so having something a little closer, I think, would bid well for everyone involved.
Yeah. One thing that I will say that I'm very impressed with the pro wrestling community is that diehard wrestling fans, especially indie wrestling fans, will travel.
Yeah.
I am very impressed by the number of times I've gone to a show in a different state, and I've seen someone there that was at a show that was in was a couple weeks prior in that previous state, and like I thought I was the crazy one doing it, right? But
Yeah.
it's no. There's honestly a big chunk of the indie wrestling fan base that does that, and I do know that a handful of them are going to be doing that for the August show. They're coming in because there's actually a good weekend of wrestling in the area for our show around the August 3rd, right? Is that the date of that one? So I don't disagree that it is so much easier to go to a show in your hometown.
Yes.
But also it is really cool to see that there are wrestling fans that if you're putting on a good enough show, people will show up. I mean, Field of Dreams, like build it, they will come. So we're building it.
Yeah. And I mean, I think that helps too, because if they're coming into town, that's more likely people that are getting hotel rooms, going to the bar around the corner, like that. It helps the entire community, not just y'all, not just that building, that staff right there. On the topic of future dates, because you're already throwing out, we haven't even got to July 6th yet. You're talking about the show in August and what's happening there. So now y'all crushed June 1st.
Thank you.
And no, thank you. But now we're looking ahead.
Sure.
Now you can't have those blinders on and let's make this show good. Now you're having to lay a foundation for things that'll happen that you're doing now that'll lay in August. You have to really zoom out. Have that. If it's going to be consistent, you get the benefit over some of the backyard stuff that was here before where you would see completely different cards, everything like that. Now you actually get that luxury of that stress of building storylines over a period of time. Reminiscent from when we'd be in our, basement or garage playing with little action figures when we were kids, and you could make it do whatever. Are y'all excited about that aspect? And is there something like, where do you put, like, do you still watch WWE to pull inspiration of how to navigate storylines and things like that?
Oh, I mean, we watch WWE, AEW.
Do y'all like watch it together as like
we'll watch
a business thing, or is
our
this
meetings for weekly like catch-up meetings are typically happen during Dynamite?
Yeah.
So it's always on in the background.
Yeah.
We watch this because we're fans, and that's never going to change.
Yeah, we're still fans. I want to make that very clear. Yeah, is that like we don't stop watching wrestling just because we're doing it ourselves. It's just that now it's just encompassing a greater portion of our lives than before. You know.
But as far as long-term booking, like, we have to honestly stop ourselves from being like, okay, and then we'll do this in September and then this in October. It's like, guys, we got to get this set up for July. Like, hang on. It's so tempting to just go spend hours and hours of fantasy booking, and then we'll bring this person in, and then we'll have them turn on them. It's like there's the temptation is always there to just keep booking further. The responsibility and dedication's not really the word.
Oh no, I got the word for you. It's my word, and it's the word you and Pat have both heard a lot after June 1st. Restraint.
Discipline was the word I was thinking of. Because you got to be disciplined in that. For the August show to be great, July's got to be great. And for July to be great, we got to have our ducks in a row. Yeah. So, and it can't be, because Lord knows we both book shows like this, where it's no matches are announced, and you just see who shows up of the people that said they were going to show up, and then build the card from there. That's not for us. That's not booking. That's not promoting. Like, if you follow us on social, you'll notice we are announcing matches for months in advance, so that when you walk in, the fans know what's going to happen that night, and the wrestlers know what's going to happen that night. So
And even out of June 1st, our debut show, we had multiple matches lined up at that show
that we announced for July.
So that you left our very first show knowing, oh, I'm going to see these people back again, and I know they were a lot of fun. I can't wait to come back, And so we made the announcement that Violence is Forever is coming in July, and that was and so if you're a diehard indie fan and you know those names and you're excited, and so we want to keep that momentum going to always know this is what a fan can expect when they come into July 6th. And then when they leave July 6th, hopefully they'll have already bought their ticket at the box office, because tickets will be available for that August show, because they'll know that these matches are happening in August and they will be happening. And to me, that's what the restraint is all about, is we have to understand that there are times when we need to say no, both to ourselves and to others. And that is really hard to do.
Yeah.
Because we are over the moon excited to have this promotion and to put on these matches and to do these events properly. Put on cards that we wish we could have seen as fans, right? But that also means that there's not room for everybody, or there's not enough time, or there's not enough money, or there's not enough whatever to make something happen. So sometimes we have to say no, and it hurts and it sucks. But at the end of the day, those are some of the small sacrifices. Doesn't even feel like the right word.
Well, it's like with anything. If you stay disciplined, you will find success from that. And if you're undisciplined, you can work your ass off. It doesn't matter, because then there's no direction.
You can only get so lucky.
Exactly.
Most luck happens because of the hard work that you didn't see.
Yeah.
But I was talking to one of my business partners earlier today, and that's kind of our different dynamics of, like, I have this grand idea, vision, the dreamer, and he kind of puts that restraint on to apply discipline, not biting off more than you can chew. But if we can kind of loosen up that restraint right here, one of the cool things about watching WWE, and I know you've said you're not trying to compete with them from a promotional standpoint, but making it like a full season where you got, like, the Summer Smash and SummerSlam and all of that, and, like, you kind of know who's going to be one part of WrestleMania, and everything that they're doing, these little stories are a part of this big story for the big king of them all, WrestleMania.
Right.
Is there aspirations of getting to where that's where we're navigating, where 8, 9, 10 months from now, there's a bigger venue and a bigger event that someone has earned the right to that? Or
so I can tell you the outline of what we have for February of next year.
Wow.
Like, we've booked that far in advance. Now, obviously, that's an outline.
Yeah.
Is like, and things have changed even in the last week.
Yep.
From what we've wanted to do for that February show. Because that February show, the plan is for that to crown our first champion, our first women's champion, our first tag team champions. Like, that's going to be that night. And we're going to have a couple of other matches that are like, wow, I need to see this, even if it's not for a title. So everything that we're doing is with that show in mind.
Because
you can kind of reverse engineering.
Exactly.
Yeah. I mean, because as a promotion, of course, you have to have champions, right?
Yeah, you have to.
Yeah, but we also knew that we needed to establish ourselves as something that people wanted to see before we went out of our way to have those. Because also, people have got to show their mettle to see who's worthy of contending for that title, right?
Correct.
So we thought it was best to finish out this year and put on these amazing shows, and then build to that title, those title matches in February, and crowning those champions. And to me, that's when we really launch into our new season, if you want to look at it that way.
Yeah, and then we'll be building to either an anniversary show or a big summer show, and with Brooklyn Bowl being as great as they've been, like, we're not looking at other venues like, ooh, we'll eventually get to you. It's like, we're very happy with where we are.
Yeah.
There are other places around town that's like, I just want to run that for fun. Just because it looks awesome. Just because the setup looks awesome.
Because why not? And
especially with, like, the Savannah Bananas selling out Nissan, like, there's going to be, I think there's a market for it.
Yeah. Brooklyn Bowls are a home and we
Yes.
will continue having shows there.
Again,
That-
great venue.
Absolutely. That doesn't mean that we're not going to have other events here and there that are
One-offs.
more unique, one-offs. Yeah, something special.
Yeah, something to build up the anticipation, which is what
Yeah.
promoting in a sport like
Promoting,
this is.
yeah.
Yeah.
We're promoters. We promote.
Yeah, that's what it is. I've promoted a lot of strongman shows, and there's a level of entertainment that has to be taken into consider what I do.
Yeah.
On that same note, getting a little nostalgia.
Sure.
What is like one of your favorite like WrestleMania usually has the iconic moments like as a kid of like something that like I don't want to say you still think about, but like changed how you felt about wrestling. And then two-part.
Mm-hmm.
How are you attempting to execute that at the level you're doing Pro Wrestling Symphony now? This is about, I mean, you got kids at the show.
Mm-hmm.
It's about making memories.
It is.
Exactly.
It is.
I know mine was like Limp Bizkit playing when Undertaker came out.
Sure.
Like
19.
that to me was like something that like if I watch it, if we pulled it up right now, I'd probably get goosebumps. Like
Sure.
that is
my cousin and I went to see Creed at a Sand Amphitheater last year, maybe
Yeah.
2020, somewhere there. And
this is a Creed tattoo.
oh,
Nice.
yeah. And when they played My Sacrifice, we pulled up the video that used to air on WWF at the time, where because it was basically just about like, hey, don't try this at home, but also isn't it really amazing all the stuff that they do, right?
Yes.
And so we pulled that up because that was just such a memorable part of our lives at the time, because it wasn't even promoting anything specific. It was just, isn't it awesome what these guys and gals are doing and putting their bodies on the line, but also having these incredible memories. And it's My Sacrifice, right?
Yep.
And so like that was, so I guess for me that's an easy one. But the first one that came to my mind, honestly, is the Boyhood Dream coming true of Shawn Michaels winning the title at WrestleMania 12 in the Iron Man match. And for me, because Michaels and Undertaker were always my big two.
Yeah.
And at the time they were kind of the only two that I could even say were ones I liked. But something about getting to that point and watching Michaels have that moment of like of just elation, but also exhaustion, because he went through an hour plus long match to get it right.
But
that
was wild.
Yeah, but he finally made it to the top, and having that line of the boyhood dream has come true just does kind of hit, especially when you are a kid and you think about like, oh yeah, I do have dreams of being a world champion or of accomplishing something great. Yeah, to me, just passing that along is kind of the best feeling in the world.
Yeah.
To be able to see a kid go, oh my gosh, that was so awesome. Or this along those same lines, talking about like trying to dive into that part 2 of your question. At one point, I was lucky enough that I had a little bit of time during the show on June 1st that I didn't have to do much, which is probably the only time that I didn't have to do much was while the show was actually happening. But suddenly I noticed that the crowd started chanting, "This is awesome." And if you're a wrestling fan, you know that is the mark of like of absolute success in a match, to have a crowd chant, "This is awesome." And I think I'm welling up now, but I welled up back then, like in the locker room about it, because the hard work paid off. Yeah, it did. It paid off for the guys in the ring that got that chant over. It paid off for all of us behind the scenes to make it happen. And at the end of the day, what more could you ask for from a wrestling show than to have fans come out and chant, "This is awesome," and have the time of their life.
Yep.
To build off that a little, the moments that stick with me are the ones that generate these crowd reactions that, like, you'll go back to those moments to watch that.
Yes.
And I think of, people always bring this one up because if you were a fan at the time, this stood out so much, was CM Punk, John Cena, Money in the Bank 2011. And for me, I'm a little bit younger than him.
Just had to throw that out.
Yeah, because like he brought up Boyhood Dream. I wasn't watching that.
Yeah.
I didn't start watching till 03 to kind of give you an idea. So when Punk Cena 2011 happens, that was one of the first times I remember them specifically pointing to, hey, this is in Chicago, So the Chicago crowd, regardless of what the hell else is happening in the weeks leading up to it, they're gonna be on CM Punk's side because that's his
their guy.
town.
Yeah.
He's their guy.
Yeah.
So that made the win and him blowing the kiss to Vince McMahon and running through the crowd and the crowd all 100% being on his side. That stood out more than anything that actually happened in the match. There was a more recent one. WWE did a show down in Puerto Rico, and Bad Bunny, massive musical act that's from there, he got to wrestle a match for him, and they played one of his songs. I think it's called Chambea. I don't speak Spanish. The crowd was singing every note before he even walked out. So, and then when he walked out, they just got louder. And I will go back and just watch that clip. Not a single moment from the match, but that reaction. And then you'll go watch stuff like, Austin showing up on Raw and helping Mankind win the WWF Championship.
Yeah.
I wasn't even watching back then. I still go watch them like, God, I get goosebumps.
Yeah.
Where I thought you were going with is when Shawn Michaels, when he had to apologize, like he didn't want to do it, Sweet Chin Music to Ric Flair.
Oh, I'm sorry, I love you.
Yeah.
And there's so many moments you can encompass in just a sentence or two.
Yeah.
And that's that's how you know they are elevated. I have never seen it confirmed or not, but I've heard that the Fight Forever chant started with Sami Zayn and Nakamura at NXT TakeOver Dallas. I haven't. The thing is, I was in the crowd for that match. I was there. That was my first WrestleMania.
Was that a chant that was there?
Yeah, they definitely chanted "Fight Forever," because at the time it was probably the best match I've ever seen in my life, like in person.
Yeah,
and yeah, that was. I know that was the first time I ever heard "Fight Forever," because at that time, that chant felt so genuine. Like we really didn't want the match to end because these two were just so incredibly good. Yeah. And now, of course, it's gotten, like all chants, it's lost a little bit of its edge. But at the time, it felt so enthralling. And of course, I joined in because we didn't want this match to be over. We wanted these two to keep fighting forever. So I don't know if that's true. It probably was on an indie before then. It could be an ROH thing. I don't know. But what I do know is the first time I ever heard that chant was at Sami Zayn Nakamura in NXT Dallas, and it. That's a feeling that that's
the beauty of a chant, right? Like you talking about what this is awesome here in Nashville. Mm-hmm. It's when you start singing along with a crowd. There's this overwhelming feeling of I'm a part of something bigger than me.
Yes.
Like this is now us. Mm-hmm. That is just a beautiful experience to witness, much less be a part of.
Yeah. Right. And to kind of get back to the second part of your question about us trying to build that, the consistent thread, whether it's the boyhood dream, whether it's Punk, Cena, whether it's Cody Rhodes finishing the story, whether it's Sami Zayn finally breaking apart from the bloodline and being in Montreal and fighting Roman and the impossible odds of that, and just the all of those things take investment from the fans, because the fans are invested not necessarily in somebody grabbing a wrist lock or locking up, in the characters that are out there in the ring,
in the journey
that they go on. So that with our shows, we want you to keep coming back each time, get to know these characters, and then be invested in them when one turns on the other, when one finally overcomes another, when someone wins a championship, when someone that you never thought in a million years could be champion pulls off a dramatic upset. That's the kind of investment we hope to build, each and every month. I don't know if we'll ever have finish the story type of thing. God knows we'll try. But that's the kind of investment we're trying to draw from people, so that when it happens, the crowd explodes.
And to bring it back to a music analogy, I'm what you might call a textbook hipster. I like to point out that I listened to bands before they were cool or before they had their first hit, right? And to me, one of the cool things about any sort of independent promotion is, in that same way, you can follow these wrestlers, these talented people from this level to the top. Because, yes, we had Donovan Dijak on our debut show in the main event, who is a former WWE champion, so he's been there, or former WWE superstar, so he's been there. But we know that we have people that have worked for us or that will work for us that aren't there yet, but they're gonna get there. Like, we see it, we know it, and we're not the only ones that see it and know it.
Yeah.
And so one of the things that I think is incredibly cool is that you can go to Pro Wrestling Symphony on July 6th and shake the hands of just about everybody that's going to step in that ring and get a picture with them or buy some of their merch or get their autograph and get to have that one-to-one connection with them. So then when you do see them show up on your TV in a year or two down the line, you get to say, oh my gosh, that's them. They're there. Because following this wrestler isn't just about following them at Pro Wrestling Symphony. It's about seeing where they go from there. Yes. And I mentioned it before that, like, we want to be able to put on incredible shows and matches to the point where if you fall in love with someone 2 or 3 years down the line on TV, you say, wow, they're incredibly talented. How'd they get that good? What are some of the matches people talk about them before they made it to TV? Then you come back and you find the Pro Wrestling Symphony catalog and you watch us on, online, and you see those matches and you get to see where those people came up. And so for us, like, our goal is not to, hold on to these people forever and not let them make it to that next stage. No, we want you to make it to that next stage because we know that you have that potential. We know you have that star power.
Oh, and what that would lead for you if you could be having that kind of reputation.
Yeah, like knowing that future champions come from us. You know, and that's it goes back to the community thing.
Yes.
Doing this for the community isn't just about elevating our status. It's about elevating their status, elevating the talent and getting them to a spot that we know that they're capable of and that we know that they deserve, which is a word that a lot of people don't like in wrestling, but quite frankly, they've put in the effort and we know they're capable of greatness.
I think that is the perfect mindset to have to do that. I say it all the time because people, coming into the gym, whether it be a client or a class I'm teaching, will thank me, for what I'm doing for them, their journey, things like that. And it's like, sometimes it hits me harder than others, but like, I can't do what I do unless they come in and invest in themselves and come here and try hard. Mm-hmm. Like, they're the ones doing the work and they have to do that in order for me to get that reputation that I have to them before. So it's really a give and take. And that seems to have worked well for me. So to hear that mindset that you have for this and not trying to just, obviously client retention is important.
Sure.
Talent retention is important, but talent elevation, I think, goes further than retention.
Yes.
And to hear you have that mindset, I have to ask, this is the Music City mindset, is what is through this whole journey from hanging out, meeting at the schools, to where we are now, to planning, the February show. Mm-hmm. What is a mindset shift you had to go through during this journey?
We'll have some dead air for a second.
Yeah,
think about this one.
I think whenever someone wants to start one of these, there is a little bit of, hey, I want to, make my mark on the industry. I want to, make some sort of impact, write my chapter. But very quickly, we recognize that for this to work and for us to keep doing this and for, God willing, it eventually become our day jobs and for it to be, like we said, a pillar of the Nashville entertainment scene, it wasn't going to be about us. Mm-mm. And it, none of us are wrestlers. We were never doing this to give ourselves opportunities in the ring. It was purely to give the Nashville wrestling community something, give the Nashville wrestlers something that they can not only be proud of, but that they want to keep coming back to over and over. It gives the fans to entertainment every time they come in, and it gives the wrestlers a platform to, hone their craft, to keep improving, to try new things, to be in front of a lively crowd each time, and then to work with great talent. That's not just from here, but from all over the country. That's why we brought in Fresh Air from up in Canada. Not just because they're a great tag team, but because, hey, we've got a great tag team ourselves in Tavon and Majestic, Royal Prestige, and we're like, we want to get these guys some reps against great talent. So let's bring in somebody, even if that means, hey, they got to fly over the border. Doesn't matter. We're bringing folks from California. Kaya McKenna's up in the Northeast. We'll bring people from down in Florida. Like, we're trying to bring from all over to mingle in, not just amongst themselves, but with the Nashville talent that's here and has been waiting for an opportunity like this. So you talk about mindsets. The mindset is we are trying to build something that Nashville deserves and can be proud of.
And the mindset that I'll go with for this is something that I say too often probably is I want to put the professional back in professional wrestling. And
that's going to rub some people the wrong way.
It will. It absolutely will.
Good.
But the thing is that we talked about it already, how we wanted to get our ducks in a row. We wanted to run this like a business because it is a business. We don't want to do this. This isn't a hobby. This isn't us trying to have our own wish fulfillment for ourselves. We're trying to make something that is achievable, sustainable, and expandable, but also know that in order to do that, you have to have the proper mindset behind the scenes to know, hey, here's where we can expand, here's where we need to show some restraint. And because otherwise you run the risk of just we've all probably done this to some degree, where you get really invested in something and you have this new hobby and you buy all this shit for it, and then you're really into it for a couple weeks, and then you get sick for a week, and then suddenly you're like, I don't want to go back and do that again. And we didn't want this to be that. Like, we didn't want it to be a case of a flash in the pan. Oh, we did this and look, we did it, but now let's move on to something else. No, and so we had several conversations like that, the three of us, where we just sat back and we're like, guys, if we're going to do this, we're going to do it right. And that means all of these things have to be in place. And that means that this is what our future will look like. Are you sure you want to do that? Because, and so we all had to kind of like have that moment of reconciliation, understanding, no, we do want to do this, and we don't want to do it in the best way possible. So to me, that's the mindset is look at this not as just a fun hobby thing to do, but as a serious business that we take as seriously as any other entrepreneur.
Do it the right way.
Yeah,
exactly.
I think that's a great way. And I look forward to being around and witnessing when you get and earn the freedom to let off of that restraint just a little bit and shove that gas pedal down into the floor and get after it. Guys, I appreciate your time. Before we get out of here, plug everything about July 6th, sponsors, where can I get tickets, all of that.
So you can follow all of our social media stuff at PW Symphony Live. That's Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, the whole shebang. You want tickets, you can go to Ticketmaster, look up Pro Wrestling Symphony. Our July 6th show will be available. Tickets go on sale for our August 3rd event named, we haven't announced the name yet.
Okay.
Music heads will know the name the moment they see it. Those go on sale next Friday. They will be available at the box office if you attend the July 6th show. Speaking of July 6th, the show is called Rise Up. It's got a little bit of a Hamilton theme to it. It starts at 2 o'clock. Doors are at 1. We've got 6 matches on the card, up to and including Violence is Forever making their Nashville return against Royal Prestige's Majestic, and I always want to call them by the real names, Tavon Jordan and Majestic. We've got Shane Mercer, the Iron Demon, taking on Alejandro. Alejandro trying to get some revenge for that brutal attack people witnessed back on June 1st. We've got our second ever Symphony Scramble. This time it's all women. Can you name all 5 participants, Rory?
All right. Nixie XS, Alexis Littlefoot, Brittany Brooks, Big Booty Judy, and Freya the Slayer.
And that's why we pay him the big bucks.
There we go.
We've also got Richard Holiday, one of the most hated men in the industry right now, taking on the man who trains Hada and Tyler Shoop. Shoop actually just dropped a little promo today about that match.
Okay.
We've got Big Trouble Ben Bishop, all 6'12" of them, taking on Dylan McQueen, Zaddy, and is that?
No, and then what?
Am I forgetting it?
You got it. Well, you got one more match left, and it's Shazza McKenzie going one-on-one against Kaya McKenna. Those two opened the first ever PWS show last June in a tag match. So now they're going in singles action here.
And I know there have been some questions because yes, we did break the news 3 days after the main event of the first show. Colby Carter went from beating Donovan Dijak to being rushed to the hospital. Unfortunately, he suffered from appendicitis, had to get his appendix removed. Thankfully, the surgery was a complete success. Colby is recovering, and he will be at Rise Up to address his future, where I'm sure he's going to have some good news for the folks in attendance.
It's good news. Good for him. Guys, I appreciate it. Thank you for taking your time to do this. This is exciting, and I hope to see each and every one of y'all at Rise Up July 6th at Brooklyn Bowl. If you liked this episode anywhere close as much as I did, please hit that like, follow, subscribe, and all of that. And for the love of Nashville, tune into the next one.